Hey, what's up, YouTube? Is it Saturday yet? No, I think it's just Thursday. But that means that we have Hotfix number 18, which comes with a wipe and a bunch of changes to Dark and Darker overall. Most of them, I think, we're all going to really enjoy. Some of them, like the crossbow damage, I'm a little bit iffy on. Longbow, sure. Crossbow, I mean, I understand it. So, SDF made a post at 1:37 p.m. today, stating that at 2 o'clock they were going to start the patch. The server will return to full service in 4 hours after the patch starts. So that should be roughly about an hour and a half ago by the time this video comes out. So, they fixed an issue where the arcane shield would not reactivate. I didn't really notice this much, though we hadn't gotten much use out of it. I think one of my friends who was running some High Roller Goblin leaderboards might have seen that on Warlock, but otherwise not too big of an issue. Fixed an issue where Smoke Pot was malfunctioning. You know, I think I noticed this a little bit where Rogue would drop a Smoke Pot and then like a room over through the wall you would still see the smoke, so I think that's probably got something to do with it. They fixed an issue where Smite could be applied twice. Now that is just dirty. Absolutely filthy. Hadn't seen that happen, but I'm glad I didn't. Fixed an issue where more additional damage than intended was being applied when calculating magic damage. Oh, well, you know, that kind of tracks. We saw a lot of 2-tap wizards that were out here just crushing people with zap, and then another zap. It's like, okay, well, that's a quick death. Part of that, I think, compounds with the additional magic damage, true magic damage, all of that stacking. There's a lot of damage stacking, especially before wipe here that we saw, that probably had something to do with it. As you can see in this video I took of my bard just before wipe, I mean, I had weapon damage on basically everything. I mean, even the greens I was taking. Like, +1 all weapon damage, true weapon damage, physical damage. These stacks were wild, especially with the crossbow. Other minor bugs have been fixed. Okay, I guess we'll figure out what that is. Blow of Corruption's duration after activation had been reduced from 12 to 8 seconds. Okay, you know, I'm totally fine with that. I got killed by Blow of Corruption probably dozens of times since the last wipe. Blow of Corruption's additional magic damage has been reduced to 15. So that's 25%, that's huge. Ranger's default arrows increased from 30 to 40. Okay, yeah, I really like that. So their starting arrows are going to be 40. Yeah, I don't see why not. Probably something to do with the longbow damage being nerfed, which I did kind of sneak in earlier. Damage of crossbow and longbow has been reduced. This is pretty big. A lot of people were complaining about longbow and Ranger in general lately, so I'm not exactly happy with it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to outplay a Ranger, but, you know, Legendary Longbow, the 1-tap, 2-tap Rangers, I feel like time to kill really needs to be upped for, I mean, not even the Giga Chads to really enjoy the fights more, but just like the general player base to really get more out of not only their kits, but just their encounters in the dungeon overall. What else do we have? Random modifiers for items have been changed. Certain item modifiers now appear only on certain parts, and certain item modifiers do not appear together. So this is going to be big. Like you might have just seen here, there's a lot of physical damage, true physical damage, weapon damage, stuff like that on like all of your equipment. And that's what we'd be looking for, is like, okay, can we get that extra physical damage, the extra all attributes, the extra true damage? So my guess is you're probably only going to see these things, you know, in probably rings, weapons. I think I heard One Peg talk about how they might be doing that on chest pieces as well. I don't know if the devs have like really confirmed that, but I haven't played tonight since I've gotten home from work, so we're going to find out soon. Item rarity is now displayed in an item information panel. So I think this was partially due to the fact that some items, you know, newer players couldn't really differentiate. You know, you wouldn't really know, okay, so is blue better than green, or purple's better than blue, or really what that layout was, unless you're like really paying attention to the stats. So now I guess if you have a rare, it's going to say rare. If you have a common, it'll say common, and so on. So I think that makes sense. Bandages and potions now stack to 3 in an inventory and stash. This is huge, especially when you're bringing in lots of pots, trying to keep that kit that you love so desperately. Most crafting items now stack in the inventory and stash. This is a huge quality of life update. I mean, honestly, I don't know why they didn't do this to begin with. I mean, I know they've been trying to implement the crafting and the kind of quests with the merchants, so it just makes sense. You know, take up less of that inventory space, give us a little bit more room for that gold. Speaking of, the gold bag capacity is increased to 1,000 coins, and the gold chest is increased to 10,000 coins. That's huge. I'll probably, well, I mean, we're going to be trying to do a lot more hell bosses after this wipe, so, you know, maybe we'll see that gold chest. You never know. We'll see how lucky I'm gonna get after this wipe here. Added an equip time for crossbows. Yeah, I saw some people running where they would go in with like 3 or 4 additional crossbows. That way you get that shot, you re-equip the new one, get another shot, re-equip a new one. It's pretty fucking deadly, I gotta say. Arrows now stack up to 20. Okay, that makes sense, especially adding the... I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Especially adding the default up to 40, so now you have 2 stacks of 20. That makes sense. I wonder if they're going to do anything with bolts. I guess they didn't mention it. Arrows only. Damage of crossbow and longbow reduced. The alchemist and surgeon no longer sell out of their health potions and bandages. This is huge. This is huge. Probably especially for new players who are going to want to have more of those light healing potions, light band-aids and stuff, just to stay alive a little bit longer, just in case. Crystal ball is now sold by the fortune teller. Okay, yeah, that's kind of slick. I like that. Makes sense, to be honest. You can now sell your coin purses and coin bags to the merchants. Wow, this is huge. That way you're not just dumping them on the dungeon floor anymore. Especially when they had the epic cap for normals. It's like, what am I supposed to do with all these? Do I have to pay for a high roller, go in and leave them on the ground? Yes. Fixed location, escape, and down portals added to the crypts for testing. This is huge. So I guess this means that they're going to have some sort of escapes and down portals. So we're going to have hell portals and escape portals that are just in specific spots. Probably kind of mimicking the static escapes for the goblins, or the goblin caves. I'm wondering how many they're going to do and if these are going to replace the existing portals. I'm kind of excited to check this out. Another part that I'm really excited for is the Inferno playtime has been increased by 2 minutes. This is huge. Now, especially in High Roller, where you get in there and it's like, you've got all of these nightmare skeletons, the nightmare dogs, everything takes longer to kill. Especially with our damage numbers coming down, I think this is going to be really important. And it seems like this is going to be for not only normals, but High Roller as well. So that's going to be really nice. Especially if I'm going to be pushing some more boss kills after this wipe. Loot drops have been rebalanced. There will now be less loot drops overall. Okay, that's big. Well, it's a good thing I play Bard. I'm really going to enjoy that luck stat, probably even more this session. Additional stash space can be rented. This feature is temporary. That's interesting. I wonder how they're going to do that. Maybe like an additional tab, or maybe like a half of a tab or something like that. I wonder what they mean by rented. Like maybe you have to pay daily for it. You like locked away from your items if you can't pay for it. That's wild. And here's another interesting one. The leaderboards will now remain visible until the next season's rankings begin. And to avoid potential abuse, all players ranked in the top 100 after the leaderboard ends will receive decay points equal to the length of the leaderboard dates. Players who start the leaderboard from day 1 will not receive any additional decay once the leaderboard has finished. So I guess that means if you start on day 1, you have to kind of keep it up day after day until the end of the leaderboards. Otherwise, it'll probably drop you down once you hit that, final spot. Which I guess they're going to leave the leaderboards open through this wipe. At least that's what I've heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll have to take a look once I get in tonight, but yeah, it's interesting. And they have a note here. It says, we've completed Hotfix 18, including a wipe of all items and gold. We needed to wipe the items and gold since we wanted to test a large rebalance to our random modifier system. I think this is going to be a big improvement, especially on the time to kill. We were not satisfied with the previous implementation of the random modifier system for multiple reasons. We believed it added too much RNG and made balancing the game untenable due to the extremes. Yeah, I mean, like you saw with the build I ran here. Man, these guys got crumpled. Rest in peace. It's like everybody's running plus all, plus damage, plus all, plus damage. It's like, I think this will really give balance to the time to kill and the damage overall. They say, and it provided a false variety to the game by encouraging less diversity, as certain modifiers were way too overpowered. Yeah, totally agree. Internally, we discussed completely removing the random modifiers from the game, but decided to give it one more chance with a revamped system. We significantly reduced the amount of damage stacking that is possible, that's big, and have reduced the randomness of the system by having modifiers tied to specific slots. Okay, so I'm guessing like damage on weapons, armor boosts on your armor, health boosts on your armor, etc. If we decide that we cannot make this system work, we will replace it once we have a new system ready. If that's the case, my guess is probably sometime mid-October when they do the big wipe and update. After the last wipe, we opened the floodgates to an abundance of gold to push the limits of the economy. That experiment helped us realize that the limited staff served as a big hindrance to players. It limits the players, it limits the economy overall. This time we will be experimenting with additional stash sizes to alleviate some of those issues. That's going to be interesting to see. We've also added fixed portals to both the normal and high roller crypts to experiment with giving players additional strategies outside of simply following the Dark Swarm. So you can kind of ride the Swarm, especially as a Warlock, though they are a little bit nerfed. I think that'll be nice. If you could double back, wrap around, have a spot to escape, that way when those Giga Chads want to chase you through, the damn darkness to the very edge of the map, maybe you can actually get away from them, find a spot where you can dip out and not lose all that bis. We hope that with this hotfix we can start focusing on making more content rather than just balancing. Yeah, I want to see that new map, I want to see that druid, maybe the monk. We have high hopes that these changes will provide good data as we prepare the more content-rich patch number 2, scheduled for mid-November. That's awesome. Thank you once again for all of your support. So yeah, and then at 5 o'clock, SDF posts everyone, patchwork is complete, see you in the dungeon. Well, that's rad. Well, we are updating now. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted to YouTube, and then see you on the inside. Thank you, everybody. Check us out on TikTok, follow us on Twitch. We're live basically every other day of the week. Come check out the schedule, hang out in Discord, say what's up. Bye.